Hey, FreightWaves fans and friends, welcome to Monday. I'm excited at least. I don't know about Zach Strickland. He is, he's a little concerned about the volumes going down a little bit. And what about those freight rates? I mean, I get it. But what we're going to be doing here on this edition is digging a little deeper, looking at some new indexes, and looking for anything for a sign of hope and optimism here at the beginning of a new week, a brand new week. See, that's positive right there. Seriously, we are going to be doing this deep dive by virtue of looking at our Sonar data platform, in which we bring to you pretty much every single transparent thing that we can make available right now. And we're going to do that. If you ever want a demo, just check it out, freightwaves.com/sonar, and we'll get you in the queue, and we'll customize it for you. We'll tailor a little demo for you, get you right in the queue, and it'll knock you out. It'll be amazing. In the meantime, Zach, also, chief meteorologist, is not here, but I know that you play a meteorologist sometimes on TV. Would you like to give us a lay of our fair land?
Yeah, let's just call it a junior meteorologist.
Junior. Okay.
Junior.
That's cute. No, but seriously, putting you to the test right now.
So you can see here, you've got the system pulling out of the plains right now or off into Chicago, but the good news is that there's no blue on this map today. So no snow. No snow for carriers to worry about trudging through any of this ice. This came out of the mountains. That always happens. These systems in the spring, they come out of the Pacific Northwest. I can see you were already pointing up there. I got in front of you.
I saw some blue.
You were like, wait a minute, you're wrong, Zach. But no. That's already done. This system will come out, it'll pull on off, won't have a huge impact to the rest of the country. What we have is a typical spring pattern where you're gonna have these systems come out of the Pacific Northwest, drop some snow over the mountains, come through here, not a lot of wintry activity. You're gonna pull up a lot of severe weather sometime. It's gonna be really quick, and then it's gonna move off. So nothing significant this week.
Over the hills and far away.
Right.
Wow, that was actually pretty impressive. I mean, that was a huge, great national overview. In the meantime, how do you like to begin your week each and every week, Zach?
I like to start off looking at the outbound tender volume index and the outbound tender rejection index, the two big indices that we offer in Sonar that give a nice big overview of what's happening in the country.
Like a true data nerd.
Okay. And so the tender rejection index is our proxy for capacity and what it is doing in the market. The lower this number gets, as you can see down here, Chad, that it's really low right now, 4.9% in terms of tender rejections. Last year at this time, it was over 21%. So as this number comes back down, rate pressure falls down as well.
Why do you like waking up each and every day and cross-comparing these two indices?
Because volume and capacity are not necessarily a one-to-one thing. I like to know what the volume's doing, as we're going to dive into here in a second. Yeah. But the real meat of the the market is where the rate pressure is happening, and so tender rejections are going to correlate with rate going up and down in the spot market in particular. So volumes may be good and solid, but as capacity comes online or the market is more balanced, for instance, tender rejections are going to come down. So if carriers are where they need to be, where the freight demand is, that's going to keep rates low. If they're not where they need to be, such as when it happens with a hurricane, rates are going to go up, tender rejection. They're going to abandon a lot of their contracted rates to go and cover some of that good paying FEMA freight.
So while we're glad that there aren't any natural catastrophes creating such urgent needs, I think that we're is it as low as it's gone?
No. Actually, we're close though. 4.9%. We're at 4.86% just a few weeks ago. Before we had this little hiccup.
That was as low as hopefully it will go.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to get much lower than it is now, but we're about to break through into May, which is a good sign. So volumes also dipped down to February levels over the weekend. Now, it's not anything to panic about because there was something that happened over the weekend.
Easter egg hunts.
Yes. Lots of
Easter egg hunting. Yeah. Quite a distraction.
Right.
Yes.
All the carriers abandoned their loads and went to go hunt Easter eggs for the weekend. No, but the Easter impact was, a lot of people take Good Friday off, shippers will shut down, lower volumes in general, not necessarily the worst thing. So volumes are going to dip here for a minute. Shippers will take a little reprieve. It's not a huge impact like you see in Christmas or Thanksgiving or any of the other major holidays, but it is an impact nonetheless, but it's a soft impact.
Okay, so that's the positive. It went down, but we're thinking it's not staying down. We are coming back up. Don't panic, right?
Right.
Looking for positive news on this Monday. And how are you? What are you cross comparing here, man?
So I've got the Cass freight index for shipment volumes in the country. This is an index that has all the freight shipments in the country in an index. One is the base value. Right now we're sitting at 1.197, meaning that we're at 19.7% higher than when the index was created way back in 2012 at a base value.
Yes.
So you see here, this green line is last year. The blue line is this year. So you see that we're about 1.3% down.
I think that is some good news.
That's not the worst news. We're only
Right.
1.3% down in the month of March, mind you. This is a monthly index. But you see how far ahead we are of 2016, 2017? Way ahead. So volumes are still really strong,
Yes.
historically speaking.
The sky is not falling.
It's not just falling. Capacity may be doing great in terms of being able to cover all their loads, but volume is still relatively strong. It's
Wow.
not the worst thing ever. And I like to point that out because people just think you're coming off this heated market, everything is collapsing. No, it's not. It's just coming back down, which most things do.
If
After
a
being
market
hot.
can't stay the same, it won't.
There you go.
Right?
John Kingston, right?
Deep thoughts.
Right. Yeah, and if we go into the next chart here, break this down a little bit further. This is the tree map. You know my OTMS tree map.
You love this.
Yeah, it's a relative volume in the rest of the country. So as market share gets larger, it gets green. Market share goes down, it gets red. And so what we're looking at right now in a lot of these bigger markets is a very stable, not a lot of up and down, not a lot of big uptick or downtick. Los Angeles, Ontario, two of the biggest markets in the country, very flat right now. So we're going to have to pull back out here and look to some of these smaller markets to see if we can find anything going on in the rest of the country. Click on San Antonio right here.
And of course, we're also just kind of looking at like how much is green as well, right?
No,
'Cause green would-
no, I like to look for the green things. I look at the red as well to see where the markets are, collapsing on us. Stay away from those markets if you're a carrier. The green ones, as a carrier, you're obviously looking to look into those a little bit deeper.
So if you remember the Alamo, it happened here in San Antonio.
Right. So this is a big upswing in market volume, and it's relative market volume, mind you. What that means is, think about market volume as a pie. That pie never gets bigger with market share. With the outbound tender volume index, that pie gets larger and smaller over time. This one stays the same. So San Antonio is essentially getting a bigger chunk of the pie.
Why could this possibly be? Is it seasonality? Is stuff coming up from Mexico as we've long been expecting? Although I thought it was through Laredo that we would really see it. But is it that, or is it the San Antonio Spurs playoff series?
I think it's the basketball thing. No, it's got something to do with volume. I don't know exactly what that is right now. But you do have a lot of freight coming in from Mexico. It comes through Laredo. But sometimes it goes straight through Laredo, not as an origin point, and just lands in San Antonio at DCs and warehouses there.
Okay, so a possible sign of life, such as Donnie Gilbert has been waiting to happen for at least the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, you could totally zone skip Laredo and go right into San Antonio, which is a consummate backhaul market in Texas. Everybody loves going to Dallas, loves Houston, not necessarily San Antonio. It's probably the least favorable market of the triangle, the Texas Triangle, if you will.
That's why it's a puzzle to me.
But this is super interesting to me in terms of, this market actually might be worth a look for a carrier, especially if they're getting consistent volume out of it right now. And that is a consistent long trend right now.
Yeah, it's, just several hours from Dallas.
And not too far away, we've got this, you see this bright green right here in Oklahoma City.
Things are happening there too, and there's another NBA playoff series happening there.
There is.
I don't know if there's a correlation.
NBA. Similar thing, maybe a lot sharper than in San Antonio. And you see it's got a 0.62 where San Antonio had a 0.85, indicating that San Antonio has a larger market share than Oklahoma City. But still the trend is similar. Big uptick.
It's puzzling as to what is going on there.
Right, but this is a decent trend. If I'm analyzing this data, I'm actually considering this being a very significant swing because there's weight behind it. It's a longer trend than just one day.
I also see it as a Western pivot position, possibly, where you could, be heading out east or you could be heading out west. There's
sort of 40's right there, and it comes across the country. But a lot of the time, Oklahoma City's an endpoint for Dallas freight or regional freight.
Okay.
Same thing for San Antonio. It's an endpoint for Houston and Dallas freight. So not necessarily the origin markets that we're looking at.
Right.
And I'm
looking for signs of hope.
Yeah.
Here.
But there's a couple of signs right there in some of these smaller markets.
And a large market, Harrisburg.
A slight uptick.
A little bit.
It's all right. And but my main concern right now is with Los Angeles, Ontario. Because these have been the big active markets in the country over the last bit, as we've talked about with the tariffs and the pull forward. And I wanted to talk about a new addition to Sonar in relation to these.
Okay.
We talk about the container flows coming into the market from China all the time into Los Angeles. We had this big pull forward. And this right here that I have pulled up here, the Freightos Baltic Daily Index.
Daily?
Wait, that's right. Daily. It used to be weekly. And
what
we still
is
have it
happening
weekly.
right now?
And we go all the way over here. We see this big active season last year coming from China to North America's east and west coast spot market rates for shipping a 40-foot container. They had a quick little uptick here at the end of March, and now they've started to subside a little bit more, indicating that volumes might be coming back down to earth, even though year over year these rates are still quite elevated. So volumes may still be strong, just like we saw in the freight market, but not necessarily as strong as they have been. So anytime that we see this, the trend is starting to cool off. We're starting to see that pull forward go down. At the end of February was the last time that we talked about implementing tariffs. So these rates actually might continue their trend down. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the busy season, and we'll have our market experts, Henry Byers and O'Brien, do more deeper dive on these in the future. But I just wanted
way to name drop.
Yeah, I wanted to just give a quick introduction that daily spot market movement for 40-foot containers is now in Sonar.
We will be keeping an eye on these and reporting them in a bit more depth over the rest of the week now that they're new indexes, and it's cool. It's what's happening.
Yeah. So we've got one more new index that I wanted to mention today.
You were really showing off today for a Monday.
Well, it ties together with the Freightos index as well because it's intermodal. A lot of the freight comes in on a container and it hops off the ship, drays over to a rail yard, and then ships across the country. This right here is the intermodal spot rate in orange for shipping a container from Chicago to Atlanta. And you can see there's a deep correlation with what's underneath it, which is the DAT Van Freight Rate Index for Chicago to Atlanta. And that is the spot market rate for a truckload going from Chicago to Atlanta. You see how closely correlated they are?
Very.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is that here towards the end, the truckload rate has now dipped significantly below the intermodal rate, indicating that an intermodal rate is probably going to come down, number one, but also we're probably going to continue to see that trend of intermodal volumes dropping because once shippers see that they can ship it on the surface over a truck,
I see.
From point A to point B, a lot cheaper than they can go rail and deal with drayage, all that cross container stuff that they got to do. They can simply ship it from point A to point B on a truck cheaper.
What's interesting too is I noticed that there'll be these moments of just like it's flat before it makes a jump one way or the flat, makes a jump. And here, look at it's been flat for what is going to happen? It seems like.
Now part of that has to be, and you're looking at this on a chart with a daily index, part of that has to do with the fact that you're looking at a weekly value. So it's an average of a 7-day period, whereas this is a daily fluctuation.
Oh, right.
So it's making it look a little bit more choppy. But yeah, intermodal rates in general are more stable than truckload rates. And that's simply due to the fact that it's not as competitive and on the rail side as it is in truckload markets.
Interesting. So overview, like if you had to say, okay, so there's the bad news, volume slightly down today, rates surprisingly staying so low. What is the positive takeaway to get us to bring us out of these Monday blues, Zach?
So we're about to close out April. We just had Easter. That's typically, kind of a refresh point for the spring volumes to start to pick back up. May is typically the time of year where volumes start to pick back up. Rejection rates will go back up for carriers who will be happy about that. Shippers, not so much. But the market should start to get a little bit more active here in the coming weeks. We just saw that we're actually doing much better in 2019 than we were in 16 and 17 in terms of freight volume. So it's still a very active freight market.
Very positive. I feel better. Just take a deep breath. It's all happening, and it's going to be good. Spring is springing. Rates are going to be trending up. That is our prediction. And we so much of what we see, we're just calling it like it is. We're using our data sonar platform to bring you this transparency to the industry and the market. It's one of our points of emphasis at FreightWaves that we've been trying to do for, really, I would say a couple of years, but specifically about a year ago to the day, with Transparency 18 launched, and we were bringing the celebration of innovation and the celebration of transparency to the market. We're going to be doing it again. If you haven't heard of Transparency 19, it's going to be even bigger and better. We're going to be even having more demos, more keynote speakers, and we would love to see you there. So just check it out if you want to have any more information on it. It's freightwaves.com/transparency18, and it's also under our events portal. So thanks for tuning in today. Hope springs eternal. Thank you to Zach Strickland, Sultan of Sonar, for running the show today. Thanks to Robbie Crossland for driving our train, and Jonathan Smith for filming all of this in his documentary style that we love so much. Thanks for sharing the love. Social media, check us out. Subscribe on our YouTube channel. Why not? You'll get a little bit of this each and every day. And in the meantime, don't worry. Be happy.